Well, you win some, you lose some, and sometimes they just flip for more money. All this and more on Locked On UCLA.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, review. Thanks for your support. If you're an everyday, we've talked a little bit about the struggles of UCLA basketball, and of always, when there's anything to update in the transfer portal, what does it mean for the upcoming years in UCLA football as the program heads to Big Ten territory and Big Ten membership? We got all that covered here in this all this time with Locked On UCLA. Episodes brought to you by Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use the promo code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. What's UCLA's first purchase in 2024? Well, officially, coaching-wise, it's Ken Niumatalolo is where we're going to start, and how he connects to the latest UCLA recruit that committed through the portal. We got that as well. Ken Niumatalolo, which I thought was pretty much just a foregone conclusion, just the Bruins making it official. He was the director of leadership, a behind-the-scenes non-coaching role when he came to UCLA after being let go by Navy, a move that was somewhat surprising for all the success he had at an academy where, you know, it's tough to win at Air Force, Navy, and Army. And Niumatalolo had seen some big-time success. So I thought, all right, before the 22 season, it was a big win for UCLA when they brought him in, it was a big win to have him in the background, right? Just walking around, walking the sidelines. Think of all the big figures that UCLA kind of has walking the sidelines right now. Whether it's behind the scenes, whether it's a former coach. You've got David Shaw's son who was with the program this past season. That's just somebody who was a great leader at Stanford, even though the program didn't end up where he would have liked it. That's a good man to have around your program. Ken Niumatalolo, same thing. You've got Ken Norton Jr. with some NFL experience. Ike Beloy, the new defensive coordinator, I'm very high on. And whether schemes and everything translates, still, you've got some good people. Jerry Neuheisel, the fan favorite UCLA assistant coach who can try and kill it going after wide receiver recruits until it comes down to a bidding war of millions of NIL bucks that the Bruins just don't simply offer, in Westwood. It's more than a decent. Deshaun Fox, they got so many guys, so many coaches on the staff that I truly believe are great teachers, great minds football-wise, and some I would truly believe even very wise off the field as well to lead these guys, importantly, into their post-football lives, as much as we want them to succeed and win and bring UCLA a lot of fun and W's and compete, whatever that means. I know we all have different ideas of what compete means as a UCLA football fan at this moment, but to compete as hard as possible, grow as young men, and transform into people that can make the university proud. So Niumatalolo is just one of those guys where obviously he's been around the program, was an interim tight ends coach for the bowl game. And I figured, all right, it was just a matter of time before the former offensive coordinator at Navy, he can teach some toughness in the tight end room, not that it needs any, and just add more lessons and add more development overall for this team where if you're trying to sell the UCLA program on the likes of beyond the money and who's going to fill up the stadium, you're trying to, all right, weather. Oh, cool. Iconic stadium. Cool. Do they fill it up? That's another topic. Football program, schooling, teachers, leaders, coaches. Now, we all have different opinions about Chip Kelly, and obviously I've taken more of a negative tone as of late. Still, the coaching staff as a whole, beyond just the X's and O's, I would think would be very appealing to a lot of players. Now, obviously, the big thing that talks is competing for national championships, competing for the college football playoff, competing other schools recruiting-wise, facilities-wise, stadium, just the environment, the atmosphere. And then you add on the likes of the NIL, where UCLA is doing their best in the portal, but they're just not competing at this point. But still, I think they bring a lot, which is why Ken Niumatalolo, we'll talk about the NIL in a moment, a little bit later in a few minutes on this podcast. Niumatalolo, the official tight ends coach. A long-winded answer to say, I like the coaching staff, right? Now, is it who's going to score 50 points a game, and can they make sure the opponent doesn't score any points, any touchdowns? Maybe sometimes it's a little deeper. And unfortunately, that is not translated into lots of wins right now for UCLA. But hopefully, one of the new recruits, I'm not going to say he's going to be the next Leatu Latu, but a transfer from Navy, I believe Jacob Busick, who comes over after an injury-plagued 2023 season, a guy that, as a defensive end rusher, has 9 sacks in 27 career games. He follows the most recent transfer, Collins Achampong from Miami. Achampong has 4 years of eligibility. Busick might have 1 extra, so he might have 2 years beyond this one. UCLA getting some guys all the way across the country to come out, and Busick is someone, remember, at the service academies, you don't get to go redshirt, use that COVID, you don't get to use all those 30 extra years to play sports. That's just not how it works. You get your 4 years, and he might get the extra year with the injury. So he's someone who has produced after being injured, having a bicep injury, I believe, that hurt his season in 23. Still got to play in the Army-Navy game, was recruited by Niumatalolo, and now you see the last 2 recruits, the Bruins going after replenishing the defensive line, replenishing the defense, doing their best to fill the talent gap that the Bruins are going to see from beyond just the coordinator leaving, the guys who have left, the guys who have graduated, and the things they needed to improve upon going into 24 beyond that. Secondary is an area of concern right now. The D-line, an area of concern because of what they've lost between the Murphy twins, Lat 2 specifically, Lombardi Award winner, just so dominant on the D-line. UCLA can try and get the best guys in the portal, and I don't believe there's anybody out there that's going to replicate the success that the D-line had this year. We cannot expect the defense in this next season to be similar to what it was in 23. That's just fool's gold. But they can be serviceable. They can find guys in the portal like Achampong. That's a lot of potential there. Busick, that's a lot of toughness and potential coming over from Navy, going to UCLA, trying to instill toughness. Remember, Chip Kelly has still somewhat of a no-nonsense approach to what he does. Maybe there's a little nonsense was trying to figure out who's starting at quarterback all year long, everything in between, but he wants to keep it a clean program, make sure they're conditioned, ready to go, and ready to play. And even though there were times in 23 it didn't seem like that was the case, bringing on different guys, hopefully there's potential. You get a couple of guys in the D-line, maybe that can help. They're not going to be right now the 5-star guys in the portal, 4-star transfer guys, but maybe these last 2 commits, Achampong and now the likes of Busick, can help build something. There's a lot of glaring needs for this team. There's that is still, absolutely something, specifically on defense. Specifically defense. They just need more of what anybody who wants to come play defensive for the Bruins can come. If you're at another school and you're like, I'm not getting playing time, and you're like, I can meet the grades at UCLA and get in. Come on. We're taking anybody. They're taking anybody defensively. And if you're an offensive lineman and you've got some talent, Chip Kelly will take you too. And if you want to sneak in there offensively after some talent will leave after this coming season with age, NFL draft, and graduation, there's going to be a lot of opening in a year plus for the offensive side for UCLA after the 24 season, the inaugural season in Big Ten play. So I think the Bruins obviously win when you add a great mind, a leader like Niumatalolo, move him to the coaching staff. I think that'll build. Not that it's going to dramatically change the tight end room, but just adding that wisdom to the coaching staff officially is great. To replace Austin Ferris, the now Austin P head coach. Let's go P. You always got to do that. And then you get a commit, another portal commit. But you know what comes? Sometimes people leave. You win some, you lose some. The Bruins losing a transfer to a flipping and a decommitment, most importantly, money talks. It does. It absolutely does. We'll talk about that and why the state of the UCLA program is where it is here on Locked On UCLA. All right. The NFL regular season certainly wrapping up, but there's still plenty of time to get on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when you place a $5 bet guaranteed. Wait. What? Hold up. That's $150 in bonus bets when you just place a $5 bet. Guaranteed. Win or lose. You're getting free money there. Go try it out. Someone's like, hey, I'll give you $150. Mess around. FanDuel's doing that right now in bonus bets when you place a $5 bet. So there's no better time to get in on the action. You can do live same game parlays and more. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. You know, on this show, you get a lot of in-depth analysis and hot takes, right? Well, let me give you my hottest take of the day. Right now, the best lineup in LA is the one at Logix. The auto loans at Logix. The best lineup in LA right now. Starting off, the favorites. Proven, dependable, new and used vehicle loans. These guys give you low rates and save you big-time dollars. So with the new rookie sensation, they've got their electric vehicle loans with super low rates and flexible payment terms. To round it all up, you got the auto refinancing loans, lease buyout loans. With those guys, you can lower your monthly payments and get on the road to owning your car faster. I know it's a hot take, but no one can beat the lineup at Logix. Visit your local Logix branch right here in LA and the surrounding areas and let one of their amazing team members help you, or just apply online in minutes at logixbanking.com. That's LOGIX banking.com. All right, second segment for Locked On UCLA podcast. I talked about the state of the UCLA program, a decommitment, a flip from the portal. So in the matter of just weeks, couple weeks just before the holidays, ringing in the new year, UCLA lost one of a very coveted recruits, Marcus Ratcliffe, who was going to come over from San Diego State. Just figured, all right, I'm going to make the trip north. That might be a step up, going to Big Ten country, even though San Diego State was flirting with being a Pac-12 school. Then they watched the Pac-12 crumble. Whole other story. And it was going to be one of those situations where, again and again, Chip Kelly saw a player on the other sideline and plucked him and brought him to the UCLA roster. No more. Ratcliffe said he had enough. This is not his words. This is me just putting words into space. He saw Texas A&M, went on a couple of more official visits. A&M did what they needed to do, and they brought him in, and he flips his commitment, decommits from UCLA, and all of a sudden, in the matter of just a semester/quarter ending, and right before class is about to start, he's now not just going up a couple hours north. He's going halfway across the country to go play in College Station. Now, all right, you look at the different environments. I've been to College Station, beautiful campus, great school, crazy stadium, crazy support. And as we know, lots of money. They gave Jimbo a lot of money just to axe him, let alone the money to have him coach, whatever it was. And they gave Mike Elko the reins, apparently. And when you can have a lot of money like that willing to spend, you can see the difference between what UCLA has in NIL support. A lot of supporters, though, still struggling to back Chip Kelly or give NIL-wise. And then you see Texas A&M and all these other schools throwing out so much money. And I wonder how much it is, right? How much the difference is so much. You can value the education, or you can get both the education and paid right now and set yourself up for the future. That is what all these athletes are weighing. It just sucks that it comes at the expense of, hey, I'm going to commit. And then you sit there, everybody's expecting you to come to school. The next thing you know, I'm going to change my mind, right? And that's every athlete. That's just not Marcus Ratcliffe. We saw that with the quarterbacking situation, with Dante Moore going to Oregon, coming to UCLA, then eventually going back to Oregon. You can see that with any player across the country. A commit, a decommit. Some guys on this UCLA incoming class committed or decommitted 2 or 3 times for varying reasons. And then there's UCLA players who might commit and just decommit. Whether it's the state of the program, of course, you go online and we all talk very negatively at the moment about Chip Kelly, even though I try my best to be positive for as long as possible. But clearly, how much of it is Chip Kelly? How much of it is the likes of just the lack of support? Imagine if we all came together. Mena Westwood, that's the NIL collective. What if we all just came together and decided to support? I know Chip Kelly has his qualms about going after high school recruits, but after seeing how many times they flip back and forth, what's the point of going after a high school recruit? They're just going to leave after a year and going to try and get this big, huge offer to hit a home run, hit out of the park, and the next thing you know, they're just going to bail for something that's triple your offer that you have no control over. Now, obviously, there's got to be better commitment to recruiting high school beyond just the portal. And UCLA's proven they can develop and get guys to the next level, whether they weren't the strongest or best, most talented player to begin with. You can't have every single player be a project. Now, we love our gritty guys who are tough and win the job in the face of adversity. Saying, hey, let's start Dante Moore, and who ends up being the starting quarterback at the end of 23 to start and end the season, and probably and will be the starter going into 24, barring something crazy, Ethan Garbers, right? Those are the stories you like to see, guys stick it out, grind it out, battle. And yet here we are. We talk about decommitments and transfers. Even Garbers is a transfer, a one-time transfer come to UCLA to fight his way in a Bruin uniform. And now we talk about NIL collectives and everything in between. There's just a different ball game. So Ratcliffe decommitting and going to A&M, you can just simply go, you can do 2 clicks. You can go to, if you're listening, if you're watching, here's the difference, the clear difference between how the UCLA football website works and how the likes of other websites work. It's very, 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 very simple, right? So I go here, I can type in UCLA football roster, all right? Go to a player's bio, click whoever you want. You go there, you're going to see a lot of information. That is what these websites used to be made for. You can go to the UCLABruins.com and you'll see, all right, currently I want to look up Gabriel Murphy's numbers and see how Busick could compare to a very good Bruin who's moving on to the NFL draft. What you'll learn from Gabriel Murphy is he's 6'3", 260 according to this site, redshirt junior from Dallas, Texas, played high school ball, Bishop Lynch, how he enrolled at UCLA in the spring quarter of 22, earned an athletic director's honor roll. Cool. Tells you what he did at UCLA, all the things he dealt with in North Texas, what his recruiting numbers were, what his high school stats were. Cool. And some related videos to boot. All right. And if you want to click some stats, that's cool. There's some media. Awesome. Look at just Collins Achimpong, the most recent UCLA commit prior to the likes of Busick. So you go to Collins Achimpong. You go to the Miami website. And this is Miami. Miami hasn't even truly competed in a long time. This just is the U. You'll see, all right, he's 6'7". He's 270. He's a freshman. He's from Ghana. Went to Santa Margarita to end his career. And when you learn from Collins is you see his Instagram, you see his Twitter, and then it says shop. And all of a sudden you've got this whole thing where it says engage with him. NIL opportunities. Where is that on the UCLA side? Where is that, right? And the UCLA website just had a complete overhaul. So it looks even nicer than it did. Not that there was anything wrong to begin with, but that is just the difference you're dealing with these different programs and what the lack of UCLA support is. Something Chip Kelly both can and cannot control. You can go scroll down for Collins, who has zero stats coming over from Miami. I'm excited to see what he can do in a Bruin uniform, but you can still scroll down and you'll get it before his bio, and anything you learn personally about him is the fact that you can go buy his NIL replica football jersey with his name on it for $140. The link, the shopping link for NIL opportunities, all that in his bio. And you'll see that at every other place, most other places. UCLA, you're going to get information. That's fine. It gives you a lot. I learned a lot about Gabriel Murphy. Collins, well, I didn't learn too much about Collins. I learned a little bit about tackles he made at high school, what he intends to major in, but you can sure as well give him money or help shopping with his gear with his name on it for $140 and click directly to house support. That is how it's just different. There's just two different wavelengths right now in college sports, and it's only going more and more. It's going to stay where the power conferences are going. You can transfer twice now instead of just once, how the legislation's going at the NCAA and the legalities of that. We've all known this, but you can just make 2 clicks. An outgoing defensive lineman for UCLA and Murphy, an incoming transfer from Achimpong, and he's leaving Miami to come to UCLA. Why would he? Well, opportunity one. But if you're looking at NIL opportunities, you can see why Ratcliffe would go to A&M, who's doing way more probably than Miami. I can't truly back that up, just talk on my head right now, but probably way more than Miami with Mario Cristobal and just putting out money out there like that. Links. You can go to many different schools, see the link, interaction. Probably many of the Big Ten schools that have better recruiting numbers than UCLA, which don't speak mostly to anything compared to development of talent. But that is where there's this dread coming for UCLA about the future. And how much of it is Chip Kelly and how much of it is a lack of support from all around. That's the state. It is going to be an ugly state. Is it going to trend the other way? Or all the conferences? Jim Harbaugh talked about it in his presser heading to the national championship game. What if everybody took a 5% pay cut and you put it in a big pool? Now, is that the smartest idea, dumbest idea, with everybody making money off the athletes? What if there's a big pool as opposed to how other schools are finding ways to pay athletes, probably like they did in shady ways prior, but now legal ways now in the form of NIL that isn't fully governed? We can see why these players aren't coming to UCLA. Now, I know Chip Kelly isn't the most loquacious fella, even though he's been on different shows trying to, maybe they're patting him on the back. He's given everything to do. Oh, he's a fun guy. And now he's been a little more fun to talk to with the media. It's a different ballgame. And just that sheer example between Pong looking at his jersey, you can see why Ratcliffe flipped. Obviously, there's different things when you try to hear defensive schemes with the new defensive coordinator. You can see how you're going to be utilized. Maybe you don't like it, or you go see A&M and you're like, whoa, that's a different ballgame. The 12th man and everything. Crazy. That's just what UCLA is dealing with. Whether they're trying to bring someone in or someone's leaving. That's a whole new ballgame. And I'm not sure if it's bleak or if UCLA is going to have to find different ways to win. I see the comment, 4 wins, 5 wins, 6. If we're lucky, it's 6 wins, 7. Time will tell what's going to happen, but you can see the difference is clear. Just go look at like Alabama or Kentucky, right? See their basketball, and you can type in UCLA, and you can see the clear difference from their official athletic website as to the links that are on the player's individual profile for someone who is as good as Gabriel Murphy was, to a player that didn't register any stats, and he still got links in the NIL opportunities linked directly to his personal bio. That is where UCLA is somewhat faltering. And who's to blame? Who's to set that up? It's everywhere. The UCLA nation has to support, as much as they don't want to. Nobody wants to support Chip Kelly. But how are we going to grow? Is he going to be waiting for the next coach to come and then throw in money? By that point, you're 3 years, 4 years behind. It's an interesting time. Interesting time in college athletics. And unfortunately, I think the Pac-12 crumbled at just the wrong time. You've got Washington in the championship game. You've got all this. Everything's so close. And watch everybody go win something super fantastic the year the conference is just splitting up and falling apart. That is the most frustrating part about all of this. But UCLA did what they needed to do, go make money. Go Big Ten, get some TV contract money. Cool. Speaking of cool, UCLA women's basketball, not dominant as they normally are in the beginning because they couldn't shoot against Oregon, and yet they still are equally impressive even on an off night. We'll talk about that to wrap up Locked On UCLA. All right, you're sitting here. It's the weekend. Maybe it's during the middle of the week, and you're like, man, I want to go to that game. I want to go see the musical. Oh, Fluffy's in town. Let's see if I can get a ticket. Oh, where am I looking? It's time. It's game time. Yeah, that's the perfect place to go because you don't have to worry when you got to buy tickets for your next big event. They have killer last-minute deals. You go on the app, you look at it, you swipe, you're like, oh, that's an awesome last-minute deal at a great place to sit because they've got all-in prices, views from where you'll be sitting, so you're not stuck behind a pole like if you're in Fenway Park or if you're in Wrigley. Not that those stadiums are built like that here in Los Angeles, but you can choose best price guarantee. So they take the guesswork. Don't need to guess when you're buying your tickets. You can get the view from your app, see all the prices up front, and see the great deal you're getting before you check out your ticket. You can buy it in a couple seconds, come through within the app. Take the guesswork out of buying with Game Time. Download the app. Use the code Locked On after you create your account. Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply. Create an account. Use the code Locked On, LOCKEDON, all together. Locked On for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Wrapping up Locked On UCLA today, Zach with you guys talking UCLA women's hoops. Now they're coming off their awesome performance against USC, and they're going to play them again pretty soon in the Galen Center. I wonder if that place will be sold out, rocking like it was in Pauley Pavilion. Well, the Bruins, even with all the hype that Juju Watkins and the then unbeaten USC team brought, UCLA beat them and were able to knock out the Trojans in round one of what could be 2, 3, dare I say, maybe even 4 matchups if we get crazy this year. UCLA had to play Oregon. If you remember, Oregon for a long time was really good. Both Oregon and Oregon State on the women's side, where Kelly Graves was there with Sabrina Ionescu, and everybody was really hyping up the Ducks prior to COVID, and they just haven't, I think in my mind, had that same steam. Yet Oregon came in with a winning record. UCLA, that could be a letdown. You have the New Year's celebration. You have all the hype, the crowd, and while they still brought in a few thousand for the game, one wonders that could be a letdown for what could be deemed a lesser opponent in Oregon who did not win their first Pac-12 game. And then the Bruins coming in after a big win over SC. What are they going to do? How are they going to perform at home? Well, needless to say, they left no doubts defensively. No doubt. Helps when you're not playing with the best players in the country and some other strong SC players as well. The Ducks just could not hang with UCLA's defense. Overall, Oregon struggled. UCLA always comes out and punches teams in the mouth. Corey Close's bunch. Her starting 5 is as good as it gets in the country. Betts, Dugalich, Rice, Jones, Osborne, Hotgets. That's just their starting 5 to 6. You bring in Brown, Yowala. You've got so many different versions. You can go with this UCLA team that can dominate one way or another. And they weren't even overplayed in this last game in order for UCLA to dominate. In a game where Lauren Betts played 16 minutes and 4 personal fouls, the Bruins still dominated and won this game by practically 30. And it took Oregon to finally shoot the ball well enough at the end of the game to score a couple of points. Even when UCLA couldn't hit a shot from the perimeter against Oregon, which is okay considering they saved all their big shots for USC, Oregon only scored 4 points in the first quarter and made 2 field goals, 0 3-point shots. They only made, in their first few 3-point attempts, 2 of their first, say, 10, right? The Bruins just hounded the Ducks defensively, forced 20 turnovers. So even though they weren't getting a lot of defensive intensity from Betts, who can just block shots left to right, had 5 against SC, you had UCLA coming in, spreading the minutes almost pretty evenly between Jones, Osborne, and Dugalich. 16 or 24, 27 minutes, all those players combining to have big impacts on this game. UCLA's starting 5 for the 5, all coming with double figures. And again, I say this is a team that is doing it without Charisma Osborne having to carry the team. 2 points for Osborne in 27 minutes on 6 shots, 1 of 6 shooting, but 4 assists. Kiki Rice, other than the transfer in of Betts, is arguably the most important player in this roster outside of Lauren Betts. Plays the most minutes, takes shots more efficiently, hits more efficient threes, can shoot from the perimeter, 7 boards, 10 assists, 11 points, 2 steals. All of a sudden, she's flirting with triple-double watch with the way she carries the team as the general on the floor as the point guard. So UCLA is turning itself into a truly dynamic roster any given night, which is what they were quoted as saying after the USC game when London Jones took over. Any given night, anybody will step up. And scoring-wise, it was Dugalich who led the team with 17 points. Not the most efficient night. She was 7 of 16, hit a 3, had 9 rebounds, but still got the job done scoring-wise because she's a much taller option in the paint when Betts was not there. She played 8 minutes more than Betts because she struggled in foul trouble. Now UCLA, Jones didn't shoot the ball as efficiently from 3, still got double figures. It's scary that UCLA can beat teams by 30 now without their returning best player doing much. Isn't that scary to think? That's how good the number 2 team in the country is. We were all excited that Osborne and, a returning starter and most importantly, veteran leader in Brown, but for Osborne, she was the name that returned. Her return for this last year, using that COVID year granted to all these players, went from UCLA cool to, they're national championship good. And if she doesn't have a good game, large in part, previous years, you saw what happened. WNIT, they would struggle in some games where Osborne couldn't take over. The growth of this team, the additions of Dugalich finally being healthy to play and taking a bigger role with Bessoir out for the year. The important growth of the freshmen going into their sophomore year. And UCLA has taken just the burden of having to carry the team for any individual on this team. Now, yes, one of the most important players on this team is Betts. And even when she wasn't her dominant self, she still scored 13 points, had 11 rebounds in 16 minutes. Imagine checking in, checking out, clock in, clock out, 16 minutes, you still get a double-double. Man, that's an NIL opportunity waiting to happen right there. Make it happen. Make it happen right there. If you can clock in and out, get everything done like that, even on not the best of nights. That's scary when your biggest returning player, your most important player in the post, and you can still dominate a team that's been pretty good over recent, maybe not most recent couple of years, but with Oregon, of course, they had some big names, some big-time talent on their team. UCLA says, hey, quick and easy work. They weren't really hitting their free throws. The Bruins weren't hitting their shots. And yet the startling difference, UCLA plus 11 in the turnover margin. They said, we can't make a shot. They're going to go force turnovers. They'll play defense. Imagine if the UCLA men could force 20 turnovers, shoot terribly, and still score 75 points. Obviously, very different ball games. Very different because one team can score and the UCLA men cannot. They cannot. If they could find any semblance of scoring, this UCLA men's team would have a much different record. But the UCLA women, man, oh man, it's fun to watch. And it's fun to watch when they're so good that they're starting to beat up on conference teams by 30 when they're not even playing their best game. Not even playing their best game, and they still win by 30, almost put up an 80-piece, which is still a lot of points to score. 75, technically. Winning by 26, and, man, they only allowed 1 second chance point. They just dominate the glass. They dominate you defensively, and they still can't shoot. And if they're not making their free throws, the Bruins still find ways to put up nearly 80 points. They go out in the fast break. They got bench scoring. They can get second chance points. All that together, they'll put points in the paint. And if they're forcing turnovers, they almost scored 30 points off turnovers, right? Close to a third of their points coming off of just turnovers from Oregon. It's got to be frustrating, the game plan for this UCLA team, who will have some very tough games moving forward, yet they improved to 2-0 in Pac-12 play, 13-0 in overall, dropping the Ducks to 9-6, and 0-2 in Pac-12 play, one of the toughest, if not the toughest conference this year in women's basketball. Extremely, extremely, extremely tough. And I can't wait to see how this team blossoms and when they play USC coming up fairly soon for round 2. All right. That's going to wrap it up for Locked On UCLA. We'll talk UCLA Cal in the next episode if you're an everydayer. We'll give more football thoughts and everything in between next week for Locked On UCLA. And we'll talk some ideas and hopes and everything. It's 2024. Spring sports, everything in between. We'll talk about it here. Get your hands up. 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA. Fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.